Hello there and welcome to your debut program Book2Art on Delta Television. The program Book2Art is put in place to encourage literary works. Of course, we're taking on our authors and of course the sculptors and those who do not know what is behind their literary arts. Now, it's important for us to know this because we do know what literary arts will do for us in terms of molding the society and of course morals. When we do not read, we will not know. Politics is actually really there 100%, and of course it's very interesting to see the other side of him as it relates to writing. As usual on the program, we will take on our very first moment, which is a profile, and this you get to know who our guest is today on the Book2Art.
Dr. Tony Felix Nwaka holds a PhD degree in History and International Studies. He is a writer and public policy consultant. Among his published works are Lords of the Creek, Mountain of Yesterday, Mr. Benjamin's Pen, Shadows and Nothings. Dr. Tony Nwaka has held various positions in the government of Delta State, Nigeria, among which are Commissioner for Education, appointed twice, Commissioner for Special Duties and Head of State Emergency Management Agency SEMA, Commissioner for Agriculture and Natural Resources, Commissioner for Local Government Affairs, Chairman, Association of Local Government Councils of Nigeria, Algan, Delta State, Forum of Council Chairman, Executive Chairman, Anyocha South Local Government Council, Chairman, Transition Committee, Anyocha South Local Government Council, Chief of Protocol, Office of the Deputy Governor, Asaba, Delta State, Liaison Officer, Delta State Government Liaison Office, Ijora, Lagos, Administrative Officer, Grade 1, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, Special Assistant to Honorable Commissioner for Information and Culture, Delta State, Protocol Officer, Office of the Deputy Governor, Asaba, Delta State, Principal Personal Assistant, Civil Service Commission, Benin City, defunct Bengal State. Dr. Tony Nwaka was featured by the Guardian newspaper dated 20 March 2011, page 36, in a special report on 50 Nigerians of integrity and distinction. Our literary icon on the program is the distinguished Dr. Tony Nwaka. He is happily married with children.
Sir, it's a pleasure to have you on Book2Art, more so meeting you live on our segment Literary Works.
My pleasure.
You know, when I think of you, I think of politics, but I never had this beat of you at all until your recent work, which is Shadows and Nothings. Now, it got me thinking that the name Shadows and Nothings, what's this all about? Starting with this book. This book, it's something. Well, we'll do a bit of a review of this book. But first, what is this book about in a nutshell?
It's essentially a love story, and the idea is to invite attention to some assumptions that tend to create tension and fear in people, which, on a critical review, you will find out that it's actually nothing. People subject themselves to all manner of pressures, or certain held beliefs, certain assumptions, and this tends to create multiple problems for people. But on closer examination, on more critical appraisal of these assumptions, you come to realize that they are just shadows and nothings.
Okay, that's very okay. Now I know, what's behind the name Shadows and Nothings. Now I do know that writers, they have different style of writing, and because I haven't read this book, I'm taken by the the title of the book, Shadows and Nothings. Now, what will you say about the literary style of the book Shadows and Nothing?
The style could be interpreted in diverse forms by readers.
Okay.
And of course, literary critics. What you might identify as a particular style by a writer could differ when another reader or critic examines that same literary output. I would say essentially, or basically, it's a past tense third-person POV.
Okay.
Past third-person POV. It's a balance between literary fiction and thriller.
Okay.
Literary fiction and thriller, in the sense that even though amongst enlightened circle, within the enlightened circle of readers and critics, they tend to prioritize. They tend to give much more credence to writings that are literary, as opposed to those that are thriller, that are seen as thriller, that thrills or the more adventures and all that. But you see that the modern reader, it's increasingly being inclined to thriller, writings that thrill.
Some even, I think some even like fiction, they like a thing where they have a suspense when they read, they get really scared, they don't know what's going to happen the next minute, like the old cheese, as it were.
Thank you. That's a typical example of a thriller.
Okay.
The old cheese. But then when you read like works of Chinua Achebe, then of course the older classics like Marcel Proust, Joseph Conrad, Thomas Mann, Montgomery. You see, those are typical. They typify literary fiction. They are not thrillers in the sense that somebody is going to hit the next person the next moment, or this. No, they are. The emphasis is more on deep narrative, than thrilling moments, adventures, and all that. So what we try to do, or for me, what I try to do is to strike a balance.
Okay.
Try to strike a balance between the two.
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
Between the literary tradition and the modern emphasis on thriller by the young readers.
Okay. Now let's. You just did a bit of the summary of this book, not in deep sense, but in a nutshell, do you want to tell us what the message of this? What's the message of this book? When you're writing, you have in your mind that you want to pass a message to people. Now, what is this book sending out to people in terms of message, and then the society, and what do you expect to correct out there?
Yeah. For anyone who has been able to has read the book, who's taken time to go through the book, will probably have seen a particular section where I made a quote, a quotation.
Okay.
And
we're going to look at that session shortly.
quotation, and it strikes the center. It hits at the key, the essence of the story, and that is to say, you do not. You have to appraise. You have to critically appraise some, long-held assumptions.
Okay.
Because they may have all rested on very faulty foundations. And you see that some of the conflicts we have in society today are based on, preconceptions, assumptions they have held over the years. Based on critical examination, you find that these assumptions do not really have very strong foundations.
Okay.
You see, so that some of the conflicts may have just wrongly rested on very faulty ground. So that is the essence, the philosophy of the story, as it were. But going down to the basics, or the basic outline of the story, the characters. I mean, the major character there, Julius. You have his friend Edobo. Then, of course,
yeah, the characters there. Now, you just talked about a quote that conveys the message of the book, Shadows and Nothings, written by you. Is it possible for us to actually support that quote here and read it out? Or maybe we'll do that later.
Okay, we could do that later.
Okay,
we'll do that later. We'll pick it up from...
okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, why we ponder over that, if you can actually find that. I want to see, you just mentioned that this book is more about, a love story, and the message there is for us not to actually do beats on assumption without really knowing the facts, really. Now, how fitting is the name, to the message inherent here in the book?
So come up with it. I didn't get that question.
How fitting is the name to the message?
Okay, how fitting is the name
Yes.
to the message? Well, in several portions of the book, you will see an indication, a tacit allusion to the title of the book, Shadows and Nothings. For instance, if you look at the character, Mr. Adebayo, what he represented in the book eventually turned out to be not exactly what it is. What he is, the character, the essence of his personality, which was projected in the book all through, eventually turned out to be a falsity, not what it really is. Then, of course, the father of Loretta, the lady in the book, the key lady, a female character in the book, the father who had led a particular kind of lifestyle because of what he felt was an injury that had been done to him, things that had been done to him which he didn't quite find palatable, and he now began to live a particular kind of life which really didn't tally well with the demands of society. At the end of the day, the man himself came to realize that he had simply based all he had done on very wrong premises, and he began to regret. So again, it goes to the essence of the title, Shadows and Nothing. Of course, the principal character himself, Julius, he defied what ordinarily would have discouraged him from taking on the path of life he took. He defied those obstacles. He decided to stand against those things, confront them, and march ahead with his ambition.
I know there's a lot you want to share with me here, so much, and I'm actually thrilled. But I want us to do a bit of the quote. Have you seen the quote yet?
Yeah,
okay.
A few minutes.
Well, maybe we'll do that quote some other time. Let's take on the first and last chapter of this book. Now, let's go to the first chapter of the book and then the first paragraph. I want to be into the book. I want to be into Shadows and Nothings, especially as we take on the first chapter, and then we'll read a bit from it, and then we'll take on the last chapter. So the first chapter there, I think I'm on page 9.
Okay.
On page 9.
Okay.
I'd want you to read, and then I'll probably read along with you as well.
Okay.
So the idea is for us to actually look at this book so that you have a mindset of what the first chapter is all about, even not holistically, but we want to just see what the intro is like. And then at the end of the book, we'll go to the last chapter and also read from the first paragraph. Now the first one there, I don't need to read. That's the way I read along with you. We're all in the book together, okay? Let's feel the mood of Shadows and Nothings.
Okay, fine. Now, remember, the dress code is wine and peach. Oh, come on. How could I forget that? I'm dressed up in it already. Oh, great. I guess you're on your way now. Oh, no, not exactly, but I'll be with you soon. You mean you're still in the house at this time? Look, my friend, relax, my guy, it's okay. I'll be there sooner than you think. All right. Just come a minute later and see what I'll do to you. Now, Julius imagined that Edobo must have stolen out of church to remind him of the reception. Indeed, this church service will be rounding off at this time. Barring any traffic jam this Saturday, it will take about an hour for Julius to drive from his Ikeja residence to Magnum Event Center on Admiralty Way, Lekki.
Wow, okay. I can imagine, the intrigue, the way the book started. Remember, the dress code is wine and peach. Like, please be careful. Now, that's just to let you know the vibes of this book. I mean, what the book is like, the tone of this book and writing. More to say, more to share with me?
Okay, you wanted me to read out a particular quote from the book?
Yes, please.
Okay, now,
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, now, it didn't take long before Julius realized that the bricks of disaffection that had long been erected in his mind around the old man had suddenly begun to fall away.
Okay.
He saw that the meek and charitable views of Chief Alaba did not tally with the monstrous image projected of him in the public space. It came to Julius that, of a truth, the validity of a story is not determined by the vehemence or eloquence of its delivery. That the truth sometimes got lost in the cloud of passion, and that a man must occasionally withdraw to the serenity of his privacy to reflect upon and appraise some passionately held assumptions. The building blocks of some conflicts may have long rested on faulty foundations.
Wow, I think that reminds me of your quote for today. Okay.
So that appears to be I will assume is the heart of the story, even though some other readers might look at some other areas and interpret them.
So page 198, the second paragraph conveys the heart of this book. So if I were you, I'd look at it again and then read through the book all over and be parts of the message of this book. That's the whole idea. You know what this is about? When you're having fun, especially on literary corners, time flies. We've been interacting with Dr. Nwaka, and of course we've been doing a bit on a review of the book, Shadows and Nothing. So, well, that's about how I would let it rest here, but we won't leave you so soon. I know that you have a message out there for, authors, those who would want to be like you. Just in a sentence, what will you share with them?
Well, to keep expressing their views, to keep honing their craft, as it were. There is no perfect writer anywhere. Okay. The more you persevere, the tendency that you improve on your craft. And that's the message for my simple message for writers, and of course for readers. I would thank them for we live in an age where the focus appears to be on visionary impressions. And not many people will sit and begin to read, and that's why you hear people say that the reading culture is beginning to decline. But quite a large number of people still read, and I encourage much more other people to read. You benefit a lot from reading.
Yeah, that's true. Soon you get to meet others reading, and then you'd have a site of the reading club they have here in Asaba. Yes, there's one. We'll say thank you very much for coming on, and this is our old rapid on the program Book2Art, and leave you in the arms of our guest quotes. Be back again right at 10:30 on Wednesday to keep it at. Bye-bye.